Welcome to Your Unapologetic Life, the podcast. I'm Morgan Barkis, your body confidence coach, with a unique blend of education and experience. With degrees in psychology and marriage and family therapy, coupled with over a decade of working as an exotic dancer as well as a exotic dance and fitness instructor, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey. If you're ready to break free from societal norms and embrace your authentic self, you're in the right place. Tune in for insightful conversations and empowering strategies that will help you rediscover your confidence. As a special gift to you, I'm offering an exclusive Lose the Midlife Belly guide. All you have to do is visit morganbarkis.com and subscribe to my email list. Let's dive into this episode. Fitness past 40, as in past 40 years old. We're talking 50s, 60s, even 70s. My mom and dad are still in the workout room 5 days a week at almost 71 years old. Yes, you can. As we age, our bodies undergo significant changes, and how we approach fitness needs to adapt as well. I'm excited to share my journey with you in this episode. From being a pole fitness and pole dance instructor, dancing on the stage professionally. I used to embrace high intensity workouts, and we're talking CrossFit. We're talking Orange Theory Fitness. I was a member working out 6 days a week. Then I was a coach and a head coach. I was working out a lot. Um, and just the challenges that came with injuries because of probably my overactivity and mostly because of age. Our body just wears and tears. I have had to shift my priorities, shift how I move my body. So in this episode, I'm going to discuss that fitness routine that I'm doing now, how it's evolved over the years, and the importance of finding what works for you in this stage of your life. Life is a stage, right? And this stage of your life is different than 2 years ago, 7 years ago, 20 years ago. So, whether you're feeling frustrated with these changes in your body or simply seeking a way to stay active and healthy, this episode is for you. All right, so let's embrace this 40 plus, right? And how we move our body. It's never too late. If you're entering into your 40s, if you're already in your late 60s, 70s, cool. This is for you. Like I said, my parents are still working out. I am so proud of them. I love when I visit home and after we do sitting together coffee in the morning, we have a very strict routine at the Barkis Ranch. So I grew up in the country in a small town in northern Wisconsin, and it's where my parents have been well before I was born. They got together at 19. They got married at 20, or at least my dad was 20. My mom was about a month shy of turning 20, so 19 years old, and they got married. And they lived in a gutted out school bus until they could afford to buy a prefab home, and they put a prefab home on a piece of property that my paternal grandfather gave them, and they have created just this beautiful, peaceful space where they are. And with that lifestyle, it is peaceful and it is a routine. They have animals to take care of, 4 dogs, 4 horses, and a lot of property. And the seasons, because the seasons have their own challenges. So winter can be quite challenging. And before we dive into all those chores, it's coffee in the morning together. So we would sit together and have coffee, and then it's outside to take care of the animals and feed the wood boiler, if you will, and possibly have to do some shoveling if it's winter or whatever it is. And then we go work out. And they have a workout room in the house. They've had one for as long as I can remember. And they really prioritize their health. They eat super healthy. And I'm always on them about drinking more water. They do drink a lot of liquids, but it always has to have a flavor. So my mom and dad do kombucha and sparkling water, and they try to get enough water every day. But they're always cooking on the grill, some kind of protein, a lot of fish in the household, chicken, and lots of veggies. So anyway, they also make the time to work out, and their workouts have definitely changed now that they're in their 70s versus when I used to be in the workout room with them when they were in their 40s and 50s. So it just changes, and that's okay as long as you are still moving your body, right? All right, so background on me, because my parents were such stellar examples of health and fitness, I started working out in high school. I did not play sports. I have zero interest in sports still, and never had interest in sports when I was a kiddo. I wish I would have, for the social aspect. I'm watching my niece and nephew go through high school now. My niece is 18 and in her last year of high school, and since she was a little girl, she was in sports and basketball in particular. Now she also plays tennis. And it's not because she's going to be a Division 1 athlete. It's because she enjoys the companionship and the social aspect of sports, and I have loved watching that for them. And it gives them something to do. I was a bit of I was social, and I just was very much on my own most of the time, and I was fine with that. I would go home and I would do my homework and hang out with my parents, and that was fine for me. Whereas my brother's kiddos are just wonderfully extroverted. And I'm an extroverted introvert. So when I have a role to play, like I'm gonna teach a class, or I need to I'm doing a talk or a training. I love being in front of people. Give me a microphone. Let me tell you. My mom and dad, they had their 50th wedding anniversary. I don't know if I already shared this story, but um, we were up in Wisconsin, and I had organized this dinner. It was a pretty intimate dinner, but anyway, I got on the stage and I impromptu wanted to do a speech, and I was a little bit of bourbon in. So I was like, give me a microphone. And so I am not afraid to be in front of people, and I need a lot of alone time to recharge my batteries. And it just seems like my niece and nephew are not like that. And they thrive by being around people, and sports have allowed them to do that. And I love that for them. And they also are staying active, which is great. And I'm sure um, as they move through their lives, that will change. And I could see maybe my nephew still, as an adult, doing like pickup basketball with the guys a couple nights a week or something, because he seems to really like the sport. And for my niece, I feel like it's a great way for her to socialize and meet wonderful like-minded young women. So it's a great reason to stay moving. I say all that. I was not that girl. I didn't do sports, didn't care about sports, and I did want to be fit. And like I said, I saw my parents working out, and they were active just around the Barkus Ranch. And, I grew up helping with chores. I was mowing the lawn, even though it was a rider mower. I was cleaning the barn. I was helping them unload the sawdust trailer. If you don't know what that is, my parents, my dad had a buddy named Howard, and has a buddy named Howard. He's still with us, gratefully. And he owned a pig farm out in Starks. And like, I don't know, a couple times a year, he also sawed lumber. And so you get all the sawdust from the lumber, and he would like blow it into the back of this trailer that my dad had built, and they'd cover it with a tarp, and it would be many, many, many wheelbarrow full of sawdust. And instead of going wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow, we would roll the trailer into the barn, and my mom and dad and I would get shovels, and we would just shovel, shovel, shovel into a stall in the barn. And that sawdust was what would be inside the horses' stalls all year long. So anyway, so I helped my parents with that. I mean, it was just like manual labor. And then when I was old enough to get a job, I waitressed at my auntie's restaurant. So you're on your feet, you're going, going, going. And I worked at a garden center for 5 years. I started when I was 16. And then when I moved away, I obviously left that job. I just liked to be moving. And then watching my parents be fit and taking time out of their day to go to the workout room and do, a workout. We had the weights and the squat rack, and mom had the Nordic track. You remember that? That wooden, it was very loud. I didn't do the arm part because I would study most of the time. So you're just kind of like pressed up into that thing on the Nordic track. If you don't know what I'm saying, Google it. Old school Nordic track. And it was like you were cross country skiing, and I would read, or I would study for tests and stuff, and I would just move. I like to be moving. I felt like I learned and was engaged more when my body was moving. I would often, when I was older, graduate school, for instance, I have a wonderful girlfriend. We don't live in the same town anymore. And when we were in graduate school, we would often meet on the weekends and go walk the lake. So I lived in Minneapolis, and there were a lot of beautiful lakes to walk around. So we would get together, and whoa, man, once you get walking, you get talking. And it was a great way to connect and move my body and connect with my friend. So, yeah, I've been moving my body in any way I can most of my life. And again, with the example of my wonderful parents who are still at it in their 70s. And when I got into my 20s, then I started moving my body professionally. So I started teaching dance and fitness. I found myself at a studio in Minneapolis, and I had taken a class, loved it so much that I was invited to teach and started teaching group fitness. And I also started dancing, which I have talked about in another podcast, the podcast called Stripping Cured Me. And so you can hear about my journey there. And that required a lot of on your feet time. So I was teaching dance and fitness. And the way that I taught the class, it wasn't like yoga. Like some yoga classes, they do the entire class with you. And there are also teachers that more call out the moves. And so they're walking around, making sure your form is good, but they're not actively doing the class for, 3, 4, 5 classes that they're teaching. So, and when I was teaching dance and fitness, I was doing the class with my students. And so I was jumping around and doing all the things with my students. And not as much when I taught at Orange Theory Fitness. That one, you're moving around, you're doing demos, and you're not actively taking the class with your students. So you can teach, 4 or 5 classes in a row, and five is a lot. Four is like maximum. And I mean, it's just there's a lot of output when you're teaching because you're really trying to hype people up, and you're, like I said, you're demoing and you're yelling and you're instructing, and you got to keep the energy high. So 4 classes is about good enough. When I was dancing, I mean, that was 8 to 10 hour shifts, sometimes 12 hours, by choice. It wasn't like I was locked in or anything. I mean, it's a kind of an at will job. And if you're making money, you stay on the floor longer. And so you're talking at least once an hour stage performances that last 6 to 8 minutes. You're talking, walking around the steps. I'll tell you what, I worked in a club in Miami that was, I think it was 20,000 square feet. It was a lot of square feet. And the locker room was way in the back. And if you heard your name, I would hear my name and my stage name. And sometimes I would have to run down the hall in my 7.5 inch stripper heels because I was late to stage, and you got to be on time. You can't be missing your first song. So anyway, I was on my feet a lot. I was very active, and I enjoy it. And I like being fit. I like moving my body. I don't enjoy sitting around. I don't feel mentally engaged if I'm sitting a lot. And so I like it. You can probably tell I did a lot of physical jobs. I wanted to be moving around. I wanted the activity and engaging with other people. So it was that's kind of the background and the amount of hours that I was active. And like anything, our bodies go through wear and tear. They break down. They're like any other machine that you work it out enough, it's going to start needing repairs and new parts, and it's going to get creaky and squeaky. So my first my first injury was like 2000, and I want to say 18 going into 2019. Unbeknownst to me, my knees had seen so much wears and tears that I had an osteochondral defect, which, according to orthosurgeons, is mostly something that little kids get. It's like a defect they have or don't have, but for whatever reason, I developed one in my almost 40s. And this rather gigantic bone chip came off of one of my bones and was floating around in my kneecap. And when my doctor took it out, the surgeon that I went to in Cincinnati, Ohio, because I was living in Kentucky at the time when I finally was able to get the surgery, he said, the bone chip, he's like, yeah, usually it's like a couple millimeters. He's like, yours was like 1 to 2 centimeters, which is gigantic for what is usually what he sees. So I was like, awesome. No wonder I was in so much pain because and I lived with that for over a year because I didn't have health insurance and at the time and when it happened. And I did get an MRI and knew what it was because I had a friend that generously helped me pay for an MRI. And so just so we could find out what was going on, and then when I finally got a job and got some health insurance, I was able to get the surgery, and it was super fast, like a 15-minute surgery. Doctor went in, plucked out this bone chip, and I was on my way. So that was my first knee injury, and just the physical evidence of the wear and tear of my body as I entered into my 40s. And then I was working at a medical device outside sales job, and it was a ton of travel, a lot of heavy lifting. I had this like 110-pound cart that I had to get in and out of my pickup truck all the time. Two Pelican cases, one was 75 pounds, the other one was close, and just a lot of stuff. And so I was always hauling these items in and out of hospitals in all weather. And, it's again a lot of physical labor. And my other knee started acting up, like just blew up, swollen. What is happening? Baker cyst behind my kneecap. And I was fairly miserable. And I got an MRI, and basically he was like, "Look, you have severe arthritis. He's like, I haven't seen joints like this in someone your age. I usually see this when someone's in their late 60s." And I was like, "Awesome." And come to find out, I finally, sometimes when it comes to healthcare, you have to push. You have to ask for what you want. And when you don't get it, you keep asking or you go to someone else. And so I went to a rheumatologist and I went several times and I was like, something is still not right. And then finally, he's like, I have an idea. And he ran a blood test that indicated that I have spondyloarthritis, which is an autoimmune disease that's genetically passed down, which basically is your joints are going to break down a lot faster than normal. So, again, good for me. And not at all. And so, anyway, I found that out and I was like, okay, well, that explains why my knees are garbage. And I got the second knee surgery because I had terrible arthritis inside my knee joint. And my meniscus had some little tears in it. So he went in there and he shaved my meniscus and he shaved down the bones so they weren't all like full of jaggedy parts. He tried to smooth those out. And for whatever reason, that surgery triggered a pseudo gout attack in my body. And so then the fluids around my knee crystallized and just, you want to talk about pain. So basically I had like I mean when the fluid like crystallizes, it's like little spikes in there. And so anyway, I was extremely uncomfortable and gratefully found a company. I worked for a med device company that sold an amniotic membrane umbilical cord um, that could be, the particulates can be reconstituted and it can be used as an injection for arthritis and inflammation and regenerating soft tissue and regenerating healthy tissue. And I got the injection in my knee and it changed my life. I mean, it was unbelievable. It helped so much. And yes, I will always have arthritis and my body is going to break down and wear and tear and all the things. And during that recovery, I was frustrated and my fitness routine had to completely change. And even before that knee surgery, I was laughing because I was telling you about my job when I was hauling around all that heavy equipment for the one medical device company I worked for. I forgot something at my apartment, and I was at a surgery center that was only like 15, 20 minutes away from my house. And so I told my coworker, I'm like, look, I'm just going to run home. I'm going to go get this thing. So I drove home really quick. It was like some kind of demo or something that we needed, some part. And I'm running into my apartment, and the sidewalk was uneven, and I twisted my ankle. Now, when you're in your 20s and you twist your ankle, you're like, whatever, and it's fine in a couple days. Well, this thing was not fine. And like a month later, now it starts blowing up. I can't wear a heel. Like, there's no way I'm wearing stilettos, pumps, nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? And even my shoe was kind of tight on my right side because my foot was literally like swollen up. And that same company I worked for with the injection I just told you about, I found a doctor, a podiatrist that injected the tendon because I had to get an MRI. And it turns out that I had tendonitis, and there's no cure. It's not, because you can't shoot steroids into a tendon, which is what most people do. But this amniotic membrane umbilical cord particulate that gets reconstituted, and he injected it into my tendon, 100 milligrams, and it cured me. And so I say this again because it's like the things you don't even think about when you're younger become huge problems when you're older. And thank goodness for some of modern medicine and my hookups, if you will, too. That didn't, it definitely helped, working for a company where you have this miraculous product available and you know about it, because not every doctor is out there telling you about the amazing products that are available at cash pay, by the way. But, I'll take it. And so that was a miracle worker on my ankle. And I still don't wear heels, though. I'm like tennis shoes only. Even if I'm cute, I'm wearing a cute dress. I will get some cute tennis shoes to go with it. I am all about comfort now. I used to be the girl in pumps. Oh, I had this one pair of pumps. I wore those things until they quite literally fell apart. They were leopard print. They were Guess. I tried to refine them. Wasn't happening. Anyway, they were leopard print. They weren't terribly high. They were like everyday shoes because I wore stilettos every day, everywhere. And I used to go, when I lived in Minneapolis in Uptown, there was a gal who waxed the kitty at a Veda salon that I would go to in Uptown. And she goes, Morgan, you are the only person I know that can rock heels while wearing sweatpants. But these sweatpants were really cute. They weren't like thick and bulky sweatpants. They were like thin and somewhat fitted, and they were from the Victoria's Secret line pink, and they had the pink in sequins down the one leg. So they were like kind of sparkly and cute anyway. And then I would rock these leopard print stilettos. That was one of my favorite go-to outfits when I was just like out running errands. Now, please, you're not going to catch me running errands in pumps. Get out of here. It is Pumas, like just basic white Pumas, or some cute New Balance. I got a pair of another pair of Pumas that's real comfortable, real cute. I get all kinds of compliments on those, and even when I go out, I wear my faux leather pants from Spanx and a teeny tiny crop top, so I'm all cute from the ankles up. And then on my feet are a pair of Nikes. Like, that is how I dress now because too many injuries. I'm not twisting this ankle again. No, no, no. Anyway, so the injuries really changed how I dress, but also how I move my body. And the second knee surgery I told you about, that was sheer pain from before the surgery, after the surgery, for almost a year. When I finally got that injection, then I finally got better and helped. And I also went to PT, and that helped a lot too, in conjunction with the amniotic membrane umbilical cord injection that I got. I went to PT, and that helped tremendously. While I was going through that process, my parents teased me, especially my dad. I am a crier. I cry when I'm super happy. I cry when I'm really touched. I cry when I'm frustrated. And there were a number of times I would be at Planet Fitness, and I would cry quietly to myself on the old yoga mat, because I would try to do my PT exercises, and it hurt so much that I couldn't keep my legs straight, flex my quad muscle, and lift my foot off the ground. I couldn't do it. I literally my muscles had atrophied so bad in that leg. They were like little toothpick legs, and I couldn't engage the muscle. I didn't have the muscle, and it hurt. And so anyway, I did a number of sessions of crying while trying to work out post knee surgery because I was so angry at where I had been and where I was now. And it you heard me. I mean, I was teaching classes 3, 4, 5 times a week. I was dancing on stage 8 to 10 hours a night. Like, I don't know. I wasn't I didn't overwork in that job. I'll say that. I worked like maybe 1 to 3 times a week. Anyway, so I did that, and I was working out actively 6 days a week at Orange Theory Fitness at that time. I was just so busy. And then I dabbled with CrossFit now and again. I mean dabbled. I'm talking like a few times a year. I would just try a studio for the heck of it and go see what they were doing, or I heard good things about a studio, so I would go, or I would go with a friend or something. And I was just and burpees, I love burpees. I am one of those weirdos that loves burpees. I think it's so fun. I love that it's a full body. It's, the push up, the jump, the doing 10 of those and then jumping on a rower for 300 meters and doing that for 5 rounds. I mean, talk about getting your heart rate up. It was awesome. I don't do that anymore. I don't do anything that requires lunging, jumping, twisting. My feet have to stay firmly on the ground. They my first orthopedic surgeon, he was very good. Young guy, super smart, really loved what he did, very knowledgeable. And he's like, "Yeah, I wouldn't advise any movements for you that require anything but your feet firmly planted on the ground." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, that's pretty limiting, really. Um, and after that second knee surgery, when I was in Planet Fitness crying because I couldn't even lift my foot off the ground and keep my legs straight at the same time, I was sad, to be honest. I was sad. I was like, I know this isn't forever, but this really sucks. And when am I ever going to be able to, you know, do the things I used to do again? Will I ever be able to do the things I used to do again? I felt like I was mourning the body I had. I was sad that I couldn't lift heavy anymore. I couldn't jump. I was in there doing these lunges and squats and like on the squat rack, and I couldn't do any of it. And I didn't know if I ever would again. And finally the PT started helping along with that injection I got. And my muscles started coming back, and now you couldn't tell which leg I had surgery on or not. I got my muscle mass back by prioritizing protein and being consistent. And I never went back to squats. I never went back to lunges. I don't do leg presses. I mean, talk about snap, crackle, pop with my knees. My knees snap, crackle, and pop just walking back to the bed after I get up and go to the bathroom in the night. I kind of chuckled at myself last night because I was like, man, like I turned the corner and my knees it's just my knees are snap, crackling, and popping, and that is what it is. And during that recovery period when the PT finally started kicking in, then I was like, wait a second, maybe I should start doing yoga. Well, this crybaby over here, then I'm crying in yoga class because I would be in the yoga class and people were doing basic yoga stances. One of them in particular was standing. See, so this was my bad knee was my right knee. And we would be standing on our right foot or leg and doing something where we're like holding our left foot or something. I don't even know exactly what the move was, or it could have been like the tree, that one tree move where you put your foot on the inside of your knee or whatever. So I was doing that and I was crying because I was so frustrated that all these women around me were able to do this simple stance. And I was in so much pain putting all my body weight on this bad knee that I couldn't do it. And I thought, I can't even stand here. I'm so crippled up. I can't even just stand here and do this stance. And And there were, they'd be like, okay, now we're gonna get on our knees and we're gonna, and I was like, well, I can't get on my knees. I'd have to sit on my butt and figure out how to do it different. And I tell you this is because, yes, I was in there frustrated. Yes, I was in there mourning the fact that my physical capability was at like a 9 prior to surgery, and now it was like a 1.5, 2. And I was there. I would keep going to those yoga classes. I would cry my way through it. Luckily, it was pretty dark in there. I don't think anybody noticed. I'm pretty good at keeping my tears to myself. I wasn't all out bawling or anything. I was just welling up with the frustration, with the disappointment, with the mourning, the loss of how easy it was, how powerful my body was before the surgery. And I stuck with it. And I kept doing these yoga classes like 1 or 2 times a week. Then I realized it was way cheaper to just subscribe to YouTube Premium for $20.51 after taxes on YouTube and find a yoga instructor I liked. Movement by Nicole. Highly recommend. I do her 15-minute morning yoga routine almost 7 days a week, 6 minimum. It's 15 minutes. So I walk on the treadmill for 20. I go and do my yoga, and I love it. I've stayed the leanest I've ever been. My muscle mass came back. My knee is probably 85. You know what? I'm at probably 90% with my knee now, if I'm being generous. There's a certain bend. When you're sitting on your butt and you put your legs out straight in front of you, just straight, and then you pull, because my bad knee is my right knee, pull my right foot in to the inside of my left knee, and then I kind of bend over my left leg to stretch my hamstring. I can barely go forward because of my knee. There's like a limit for some reason, whereas the other side, I'm like bendy. And so anyway, there's some limitation there still, and probably always will be. And so my routine now is so different. And I've had to come to a place of peace. When you lose something and you're sad and you mourn it and you don't accept it and you fight it and you're angry. I went through all the stages of grief here with my fitness. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to wear high heels anymore. I mean, I did wear heels to my friend's wedding back in January of 2021 because, was it 2021? No, 2023. And I had to, because the dress had to be worn with heels. And I had this specific set of Steve Madden stilettos, black heels with the rhinestones. Well, the kind of rhinestone, but there was the spikes and they bad ass heels, and they had to go with the dress because I had to. And I had this black faux fur jacket. I mean, the whole thing was just fantastic. I had to wear heels for that occasion. And boy, I couldn't wait to take them off by the end of the night. And I danced so much in those shoes by the end of the night. I was in rough shape. The next day, my knees were killing me, but it was worth it. And overall, I don't do the heels anymore. There's no CrossFit in my life. I'm not running anywhere. I'm not sprinting anywhere, ever. I don't, like I said, I don't do any lunging, squatting, nothing. I mean, I do hip thrusters with the squat rack, and I do deadlifts with the squat rack because it requires very little knee bending. I don't do any bike. Everybody's like, "Oh, the bike, it's safe." No, it's not. Not for me. All that bending over and over and over again with my knees? No, not okay. It's like mortar and pestle. You're just basically grinding up my bones in there. So anyway, it's just, that's how my fitness routine has had to change. I've embraced yoga like I never thought I would. I used to think, oh my God, yoga's so boring. Now I'm like, oh my God, I love yoga so much. I prioritize yoga now more than weightlifting. And I can promise you, I never thought I would tell you that. So that's my current fitness routine. That is how it has changed. And I had to change my mindset around it as well. As I told you, like I used to value being powerful, strong, fast. I mean, one of my proudest moments is I used to work at Orange Theory Fitness corporate, and so we had, you have your squad, the men and women that day to day to day created the workouts. I don't know how familiar you are with their workouts, but at Orange Theory Fitness, everyone around the world is doing the exact same workout that day, which I think is so cool. And there's a team of people that are creating those workouts, testing those workouts, and then launching them to the studios. And then everyone around the world is doing that same workout that day. And it is different every single day. So cool. And I worked in the sales training and development department. So I would be dispatched to new studios to train the studio managers and the sales associates how to run the studio and do sales and all that. And we had a studio on the first floor. So we could work out and take classes down there, and because they were testing workouts and what have you. I think at least once a year they would do what's called the dry try. So it was 2,000 meters on the water rower, 300 body weight exercises in the weight room, and then a 5K on the treadmill. And I had never done one. I've never trained for one. I'd coached them. And people were like teaming up and they're like, "Oh, are you going to do the dry try? I'm doing it with so and so." And I'm like, "Nah, nah, nah." The day of, I'm like, "You know what? I am going to enter." And I entered as a solo competitor last minute. And it was one of the most fun things I did. Maybe this is why my niece and nephew are in sports, because it really is fun. And even if you don't win, just the yelling and the cheering. And so I had two of the gals that I worked with, they still work for the company. I remember them in particular. Uh, and so Debo, Lindsay, if you're out there, thank you. They were behind me the whole time, cheering me on. And when we got to the treadmill, which is the last event, the two other people that were competing solo that day were two gentlemen from the office. And they got on the treadmill before I did. They got through the body weight exercises before I did. So I'm already in third place coming into the treadmill. And I beat them. And there, my coworkers were cheering me on, telling me I could do it. And I was like, yes, I can. And they went all out too quick. I saved it for the end and I just took off in the last part of the 5K and I took first place. And I was so happy. And I think about that now and I think I would not be able to do that activity. And so I going back to the mindset stuff, I can reminisce, I can be joyful that that's a memory that I have, and I have come to peace with not being able to ever do that again. And I don't want to. I'm to the place where it's like that was so fun. My body was powerful back then. I had more endurance, more chutzpah, and I'm like I'm good with my 20-minute interval walk, power walk on the treadmill and my 15-minute yoga routine. Because for me now, it's consistency, not power, not show, not I mean, no, not explosive. You know what I mean? So it's just different. I don't want to compete. I don't want to be the fastest, biggest, strongest. I just want to be consistent. And I have learned through yoga to be more peaceful in my body and enjoy how stretchy it is. And I was telling my dad the other day, I don't love yoga because I'm becoming the bendiest person on the block. I do it because every day I'm starting from zero because of my age. I want to keep doing yoga into my 90s if I'm living that long. And every day is like starting from day one again. And I've learned to be okay with that. I'm not when I was younger, I was building. I was like building muscle mass. I wanted to be more flexible. I was building up to things. And now I have found like, I want to maintain, I want to stay flexible. I cannot do the splits anymore. I used to be able to do the splits without even practicing or trying to do the splits. Now, if I even practiced every day, I'd probably eventually be able to. And I'm okay that every day I just do my stretching and I'm as good as I was yesterday. Maybe I'm feeling I got a cold today, so I'm not as good as I was yesterday, but I'm pretty close to what I was yesterday. And maybe tomorrow I'm a little bendier because I got more energy or I don't know. But anyway, so it's just to me now it's more about being present in my body, moving slower and more intentionally and thinking about the muscles that are being engaged as I do each movement and staying consistent. That has been the biggest thing. As your body changes and you're getting older, what are you doing to continue to move? What are you doing to find joy in movement, presence in movement, and moving your body not because you have to be a certain size, you feel like you need to be a certain size. Um, yeah, I always wondered about that because girls would be like, okay, I'm getting married, so I'm going to have to get down to this and I have to do that. And then I'm like, why? The guy you're married wants to marry you because of how you look right now. And he's liked you if you've picked up or dropped weight along the way. He wants to marry you right now, standing in front of me. So why are you trying to be all different for your wedding? You're just going to pick that weight back up later, more than likely. You're going to do these extreme, not good for your body things to look a certain way on this day. Why not just be yourself? Love how you look right now. Continue what you're doing. Sure, maybe drink more water. Introduce more fruits and vegetables into your life. Prioritize protein. You'll drop weight without even trying. It'll just happen. And move your body every day. You don't have to starve yourself and you don't have to do crazy workouts. I've noticed, especially now that I'm in midlife. Have you noticed this? People are always like, oh, your hormones are going to be different. And they are. And you go get hormone replacement. Or the I don't know if it's a wives' tale. It could be. And yes, our bodies are changing as we get older. Your metabolism slows down. Your insulin changes, perhaps. And I feel like we're older and wiser. Like, let's eat healthier. We know that if it isn't of the earth, it's probably not good for us. So, protein, fruits, veggies, done. That was a little off topic there. So anyhow, I feel like a lot of people, and I was the same way in the 20s and 30s. You worked out because you wanted to look a certain way. And now, I don't know about you, but I'm like, I want to work out because I want to be able to move easily and avoid injury as I get older. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm not trying to look a certain way or be a certain size. When I go to the doctor and they put me on the scale and they tell me what my weight is, I'm like, okay. They look at me like I went in recently and she put me on and she told me my weight. And the way she said it, it was almost like, are you okay with that? Like, and I was like, yep, that's what I expected. It was like tomorrow I might weigh 2 more pounds and tomorrow I might weigh two less. Who cares? Like, that's not what we're here for, my health and to address something that I want to take care of. I don't really care what the number is on the scale. Thank you very much. Got it. It's just, and 20 years ago, for sure, I was working out because I wanted to weigh a certain amount. I was eating because I wanted to weigh a certain amount. Now I eat to nourish my body and I work out to stay healthy and flexible because I want to live as happily as possible as long as I can. Right? All right. Fitness is not about perfection. You hear that? Say it with me. Fitness is not about perfection. Just move your body. It's about finding what feels good and works for you at this stage in your life. It's about embracing the changes, celebrating what your body can do, and prioritizing your well being. I encourage you to find your own fitness journey. Move your body in a way that feels good to you. And consider how you can adapt your routine to align with your current lifestyle. Every step counts. I never was one of those fitness tracker folks. I don't have a watch still, but I do love my Aura ring. Aura, Oura. A lot of people have them. I noticed Jennifer Aniston is wearing one in the show, The Morning Show on Apple TV. I was like, ooh, Jennifer Aniston even has one. Okay. I love it. It predicts my period to the day, which I think is awesome. It tracks my sleep, my resting heart rate when I'm in the bed, my heart rate variability when in the bed, and I can always tell if I had a little alcohol before bed, I don't sleep as good. My heart rate doesn't drop as quick. I don't get as much restful sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night, say 1 or 2 a.m., and then it takes me 2 hours to get back to sleep. If I don't have any alcohol, I sleep through the night, and if I do have to get up, I fall right back to sleep. Find the routine that works for you in terms of moving your body. A lot of people, oh, I don't have time. Make time. Yes, you do. Make time. And I'm telling you, all you need 10 minutes minimum. Go walk on a treadmill doing inclines for 10 minutes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to morganbarkis.com, sign up for my email list, and I will give you my free guide to what I eat, how I move my body, and how to get your mindset right to stay consistent. Done. Okay? Just join my email list. It's right there. So, yes, find the routine that works for you and fits your lifestyle. And if you're someone that's like, I kind of like an accountability partner, or I want a system where someone just tells me what to do, I get it. I get it. I used to be like that. Do you know how many therapists I've seen? A few. I think 5 or 6 maybe. Just different times in my life where I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? Because I'm not seeing a way around this thing. Can you help me? And earlier, like when I went to college and then when I was in my 20s, it was like eating disorder clinics and like therapy in that respect. Then it changed because life changes. Like then it becomes work things and relationship things and whatever. And I feel like I've learned a bunch of tools from a bunch of people and a lot of books that I read and all the things. And now I finally have a system that works. I'm almost 45 and I have a system where I feel energetic, happy, lean, fit, light. And I think, why didn't somebody tell me all this years ago? Because I'm rooting around here, reading all the books and trying to figure this out on my own. And no one therapist could help me. I'd be like, yeah, I'm good on this now. A couple sessions in, I'm like, yeah, okay, I think I got out of this what I needed. And then I'm like, done. And then I realized like I can put together everything that has helped me over the years and give that to women so that they can find a system that works. Instead of having to go to all these different resources and try to figure out on their own, I have the system. It works. I've been doing it and it's working. And some people, they like accountability partners. They want someone who's checking in, cheering them on, challenging them. That's me. That is me. That's what I do. I'm a body confidence coach. I figured out the system and now I can share with you if you want it. So I say that to say, if you're interested, just go to my website, morganbarkis.com, book a discovery call with me. It's buttons all over my website that says schedule a call with Morgan, discovery call. And it'll put you over to my Calendly, and then we can have a call and see if we want to work together. Because I know that there's so many resources out there and it can get overwhelming. And then there's the fad diets, and there's the Susie Q telling you she does this, and this person's drinking matcha tea because it burns fat. Yeah, sure. This person's over here taking these pills, and this person's over here doing a carnivore diet. And, I did all the things. I even took ephedra back in the day. Do you know how dangerous that is? I remember how my heart used to race. Not healthy. Anyway, so I know I've tried all the things. I've read a lot of books. I've done the therapy. I've done a lot of fitness things. And now I've noticed that the 40s and 50s, it's just different. Your body's different. Your lifestyle's different. Your priorities are different. And you're hopefully caring less about what society's telling you to be. And you're like, what do I want? How do I want to be? How do I want to feel? What do I want to eat? Do I even know? Because I've been listening to other people my entire life. Book a call with me. If you think that working together will give you that grounding and the system you're looking for to slow you down, make things simple. Simplify to amplify, as Marie Forleo would say. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Your Unapologetic Life. I hope you found inspiration and practical tips to help you embrace your unique beauty. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with at least one woman in your life that you care about. Hit that follow button, and if this episode resonates with you, take a moment to rate and review. Your support helps us reach more women on their journeys to confidence. And remember, for even more resources, including my exclusive Lose the Midlife Belly guide filled with my personal tips and tricks, visit morganbarkus.com and subscribe to my email list. Thank you for being here, and I can't wait to connect with you in the next episode.